The Sundown Close-Up, from the state of the state to the state of the race. We talked with Governor Maggie Hassan about the job she has and the job she seeks come November. And the primary now behind us. A look back in an election cycle that was like nothing we have ever seen before. Have Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump killed the establishment candidate? Morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Josh McKelvin. In the heat of the New Hampshire primary, it might have slipped by you that at the beginning of the month, Governor Maggie Hassan delivered her last State of the State address. And that's because, as you probably know by now, the governor is challenging Kelly Ayotte for her Senate seat this year. And she's also my guest this morning. Ma'am, good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Let's start with the State of the State. A lot of emphasis put on the problem of opioids and addiction. Where does that stand? How do you think things are going there?
Well, what I really set out in the State of the State is that the state of New Hampshire is strong, and it is certainly getting stronger. We have one of the lowest unemployment rates in the country at 3.1%. For the third year in a row, we have been rated the best state in the country based on a dozen or more quality measures of economic quality, community safety, and quality of life. So we're doing better, but we have more work to do, because we really want to have a New Hampshire where everybody can work hard to get ahead and then stay ahead, where we're expanding opportunity for all of our people. And so as we look at what we need to do that, we know that we have to continue to confront our opioid and heroin crisis. For sure, it's our most pressing public health and safety challenge. But we also know that we have to emphasize and work on some other things too. So the opioid crisis is one of them. Expanding Medicaid, again, reauthorizing that expansion, partly because it's so important for expanding treatment capacity for the opioid and heroin crisis, but also because it expands preventive and primary care, making our population healthier and saving us money at the same time. But then we also know that what businesses really need more than anything else is a 21st century workforce. So we have to focus on education, as well as a new program that I outlined called Gateway to Work that would really help people who currently need some supports, perhaps, as well as businesses and training to get that next step up in the ladder of opportunity. So we need to focus on workforce, and then we also know we need to focus on our energy challenges, our transportation, and making sure that New Hampshire's state government remains small but nimble and responsive, because that's a real economic advantage for us too. When we focus on all of these things together, at the end of the day, what we do in New Hampshire is build a future where people can believe that their children will do better than they did. And that's essentially how you go about expanding opportunity for all and making the state even more stronger, more innovative.
I think you've answered all the questions before I asked them about the state of the state. No, when it comes to the opioid crisis, let's start there. First of all, is there a recognition outside of New Hampshire, obviously the federal government, our New Hampshire Senate delegation working hard at the federal level, that this can't be done alone in New Hampshire? I mean, obviously treatment is something that you're focusing in on, but when it comes to law enforcement angle, is there enough help?
Well, certainly it's good to see people working across party lines. This does take a bipartisan approach, and I'm glad to see that Washington is beginning to recognize that we do need additional resources, yes, indeed, for law enforcement, among other things. But I continue to be disappointed that in Washington they're continuing to vote to repeal Medicaid expansion, which is so essential to expanding treatment capacity here and across the country.
Well, how likely is it that you're going to face any real opposition when it comes to expanding Medicaid? Certainly there's a group that doesn't want anything to do, the Republican side within that party, that doesn't want anything to do with the Affordable Care Act. But then there are others who say, you know what, this is, the horse is already out of the barn here.
Well, I'm very pleased that we have a bipartisan New Hampshire health protection program that we enacted just about 2 years ago. And we did make progress over this last week with the House voting in a bipartisan way to move a bill that could reauthorize expansion forward. So I'm heartened by that, and we'll continue to work with members of both parties.
Yeah, I noticed within the state of the state, no mention, though, of expanded gambling or casino. Do you think that's just a lost cause at this point?
I think we've had that debate, and I think we need to focus on where we can continue to make progress together. I'm very heartened that we now have had 2 fiscally responsible balanced budgets without a sales or an income tax, that By carefully managing state government, we ended fiscal year 15 with a $62 million surplus, and we've doubled our rainy day fund. So we're making great progress there, and we need to continue to move forward. One of the things on the opioid crisis is, I called for this special session. The legislature created a joint task force. They sent a group of bills to my desk last month that I was proud and happy to sign into law. But there were other items in the comprehensive package that I proposed earlier this fall that we still need action on. Expanding drug courts is one of them. Funding perhaps another prosecutor position in the Department of Justice to help prosecute these cases. And there's been a debate back and forth about whether we can afford those programs. We're about $40 million ahead of revenues in fiscal year 16 already, and we can't afford not to do these things. We have to put in place a really comprehensive response to the opioid and heroin crisis, and I'll continue to work with the legislature to encourage them to make the kind of strategic investments to combat this crisis that will help us not only stem the tide but reverse it.
Yeah, overseeing the state's response theoretically is the drug czar. Jack Woźmak has left the post. You're currently looking for a new one. And I said he took some heat. There's no question about that. But I don't want to criticize Jack Woźmak because there's certainly an enormous job in front of him. But as you look for a new person to fill this role, what kind of differences in maybe personality, leadership, what kind of person are you looking for?
Well, first of all, I'm very grateful to Jack for his service and all of that he did. Much of the comprehensive package that I proposed this fall that the legislature took up, and quite a bit of which has been passed, came from the recommendations that Jack developed by really reaching out to stakeholders around the state, getting their input, and coming back to the table with specific recommendations that really helped us develop the strategy for how we're going to stem and then reverse this tide. So I'm grateful to him for his service. Moving forward, we are going to continue to need to work with stakeholders throughout the state from very different disciplines sometimes. This is a multi-pronged problem, and it requires a multi-pronged response, and coordinating that response takes somebody who can both listen and learn but also push a little bit as necessary. And one of the things that happens here is that because of the nature of this crisis, we're asking people to change, and we're asking people to do things at a quicker pace than sometimes they're used to, and that certainly can create some tensions.
Sure. Obviously, you're running for Senate now. How difficult is it to manage the issues that are facing the state while at the same time keeping an eye on the federal issues, the international issues that you're going to have to be versed in as you make the case to become the next U.S. Senator?
So my focus each and every day is on my job as governor, and it will be till my very last day in office. That's why we're going to continue to work with members of both parties on workforce development plans. The Gateway to Work program that I announced at the State of the State is one that allows us to repurpose existing federal funds to really help people who are long-term unemployed, bridge the gaps or overcome the barriers they have to employment while also supporting employers and partnering with employers for apprenticeship programs. We know that there are a number of other measures we can take that will get people off of welfare, save the state money, and provide employers that 21st century workforce that they really want. So I will stay focused on my job as governor each and every day, and the people of New Hampshire continue to let me know what their priorities are and really how they think we can all work together to make a stronger, more innovative state and really expand opportunity for each and every family.
Yeah, the Jobs program is certainly interesting. We'll take a quick break, talk about the campaign when we come back?
Sure.
All right, stay with us.